Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. 37/M and 37/F wife are going through a trial separation. She wants space and keeps stucking it up. Wall of text. My wife and I have been in a monogamous relationship for 10 years, married for nearly 3. My wife is bipolar and I have a superiority complex that stems from my past, Eagle Scout, Navy nuclear reactor operator. We met playing video games and I moved to her hometown to be with her. I sometimes worked 2 jobs to support myself, her and her 2 children, joint custody, from her previous marriage. Our apartment was rarely clean, she handled the bills and she sometimes cooked, but we were happy and looking to the future. I got a better job, but still felt very limited by the area we lived in, and she started going to college to become a nurse. We moved into the ill-maintained house that she grew up in, which still was rarely clean, but we did inherit her parents' and sisters' clutter as we moved in a hurry. She loves that house and I doubt I could ever convince her to relocate. About halfway through school she got pregnant and we had our own child and she had her tubes tied. 2 more years of school later and I was able to leave the dead-end job that I hated and she took over working as a night nurse at the local hospital. We were married shortly after in the spring. I was to care for the baby and clean/cook, stay-at-home dad. Well, I dropped the ball in the cleaning department, although I did fairly well in the cooking and baby care departments. Not perfect but adequate. That was 3 years ago. About 2 years ago her ex kicked his daughter out and she came to live with us full-time. Her son chose to live with his father. During that 3-year span I have continually failed to live up to my end of the relationship in the cleaning world and became depressed and had no clue how to seek help for it. She would offer helpful hints but apparently I missed them for whatever reason. Not seeing her as much as I used to, I believe, contributed to my depression, and the more depressed I got the more she pulled away. In approximately July she took herself off of her bipolar medication because she didn't like the weight she was gaining and they kept increasing her dosages. She has told me that in November we were so short on money that she asked me to get a job and I flatly refused. I honestly don't remember us being in such dire straits as she claims, but I have to take her word for it as I don't mess with the finances beyond occasionally checking the balance. Her ex-husband would never let her deal with the finances, so I let her have the responsibility and she seemed to enjoy it. She has told me that November is when she lost all respect for me, and I do remember her asking for a divorce, but I was convinced that if I could just get started on the house that I could turn things around. About 5 weeks ago her husband decided to kick out his son as well, so the scramble began to clean the house to the point where we could take on another family member with their own room. My brother-in-law came over and helped me make a huge difference in the house and I could feel my old motivation coming back. I cleaned like a man possessed and we had rearranged the house in a matter of 3 days. There was still a lot of clutter but I could see progress and felt inspired. That's when the bottom dropped out. For months she had become closer and closer to one of her friends, 23/M, online. She would refer to him as her best friend and started taking trips up to see him at college, even going so far as to go to musicals with him and his mother. After going through one of her bags to get her laundry out after one of the trips I found something that caused me to confront her and she admitted that they had sex at the end of that trip up. Of course, my initial response was to simply leave, but she stopped me and we worked through, or at least I did, how we felt about the entire situation, and I was satisfied that a sexual relationship was not what either of them wanted from their friendship. I made my peace with it and the next 2 days were really enjoyable. For me. She was being eaten apart with guilt, which culminated in an attempted suicide and a short stay in the local crisis center. When she got out she was saying that she wanted a trial separation, but I asked her if I could stay in the house and she agreed that would be best for our now 5-year-old son. I pitched a bedroll in the living room while she was often sleeping nights and I would sleep in our bed while she was at work. That lasted for about 3 days when she decided to take a trip up to see her best friend that she had slept with. I was absolutely beside myself, but there was no way I could stop her without becoming the bad guy. She came back from that trip and assured me to my satisfaction that there was nothing sexual in their relationship anymore, and I trust her in that. I told her that I was willing to do anything to repair our marriage and asked if she wished me to move out. She said yes, so I spent $300 renovating an attic room at our friend's house. When I am over to see her and her kids, she will hug me if I ask, which was about the same level of affection I got from her before all of this, but she hugs me like she doesn't want to touch me now. She has told me that she is no longer in love with me and has stated that she only married me so I could have insurance. She will talk to me but not about anything other than fluff and bullshit. The first week after she came back from her friends, she told me that she had chosen a counselor for us to go to, individual counseling first, then moving into couples counseling. We spent an entire week trying to contact that counselor to no avail. This last weekend I went to visit an old Navy friend of mine. The 5-year-old came with me to meet his children, and she decided to go to see her friend for the weekend, leaving the older kids on their own. She also has a trip planned for next week to go up for his birthday. Today I called about 25 different doctors trying to find a counselor that would take us, and finally found a licensed therapist that was taking patients nearby and reasonably priced. We have our first appointment on Wednesday. The therapist wants to see us together for the first session. Now, through all of this I have had awful mood swings, near panic attacks, fits of anger and bouts of severe sadness, never any suicidal tendencies, though. The one thing she has asked me for, space, seems to be the one thing I am least able to provide. Sometimes we will text. We both had car trouble in the last week and helped one another out with rides while the cars were repaired. I go over sometimes to get something that I need for the attic and I can't seem to just shut the duck up and leave her alone. I feel very scared of what will happen, and I know that I'm making things worse by trying to engage her, but I just can't shut the duck up. I've lost almost 20 pounds in the last 4 weeks. I stopped smoking around Christmas and now I'm smoking more than I have in 12 years. I feel like everything is falling down around my ears and I just can't manage to stop making things worse with her. Any suggestions? I don't know how to distract myself and get my mind off of everything. TLDR, my wife needs space and I can't shut my ducking mouth. Imho, there is a lot more going on here than she needs space and you can't shut up. She has bipolar disorder and you have a terror of abandonment. Clutter and hoarding can also be from abandonment issues. I would venture to say your abandonment issues go way back, and the emotional themes you are experiencing now are somehow connected to that, and probably familiar to you if you really think about it. Infidelity is usually a distancing maneuver. So are direct requests for space, when your partner distances from you. If indeed you do have abandonment issues, there is bound to be a strong compulsion to pursue and cling, even when you know it does more harm than good. I think you each need to take a serious look at your own side of the street in individual counseling before you will accomplish much as a couple in counseling. Good luck and best wishes for a happy resolution to all this. It will take hard work on both parts. I'll do some research on abandonment issues. I am not aware of anything in my past that could cause those in me, but I'm not discounting anything at this point. We're definitely both going to individual counseling before moving into couples counseling. I can't speak for her, but I have rolled up my sleeves and I'm ready to work on myself until I'm better than the man I was when we met. Thank you for your well wishes. For her part, she has a troubled past with molestation and a rape as well as an abusive ex-husband. I'm hopeful that her individual counseling will help her to address those problems which she has spent her entire adult life repressing. It's a very long and rocky road that we're both setting out down right now. This sounds like a horribly toxic relationship for both of you. Is there any way you can remain in counseling by yourself? Based on what you've said, I am not convinced you can get through this on your own. I think horribly toxic might be a bit harsh. Smile, we've actually had a really great life together right up until the last 3 years. I will definitely be in individual counseling until I can figure out my motivational and emotional problems, but I don't want to discount the last 10 years and just toss them aside. I still love her deeply and there are the kids to think about. I love her kids as much as I love the baby, and I don't want to have to end it all without trying to fix it first. Right now the big hurdle for me seems to be giving her the space she needs to sort herself out while I do the same. I'm a talk it out kinda guy and she's a leave me the duck alone kinda girl. I didn't mean to insult you, and I certainly did not mean to imply you don't love each other deeply. Bipolar people absolutely need their meds, and based on your post, I would think you may need some help as well. What it is, I don't know. Not a doctor. From what you're saying, it seems like maybe you don't exactly bring out the best in each other. I wasn't insulted in the least, please don't apologize. Smile. If I didn't want some feedback I wouldn't have posted this. She has gone back onto bipolar medication, they restarted her in crisis, and realizes that she needs her meds to stay mentally sound. I'm most likely going to go on antidepressants as well through the course of our recovery. I would agree that, these days, we definitely don't bring out the best in one another, but it wasn't always that way. The vast majority of our friends believe that we can and should fix our relationship, and that's encouraging to me. If you don't think that a doctor is the kind of help I should seek, what do you recommend? Oh, I think you need a doctor, but most people don't want to hear that in my experience. I mean, I personally am not a doctor. Lamau. Sorry for my confusion. Smile. I agree with you 110%. Edit. Interestingly enough, putting this on here and being able to talk about it, even with just random strangers, has helped me with my SDFU problem. I wonder if I continue following this thread if it will help me to keep giving her space. Not your fault, I worded that in the worst way possible. It's strange to me how many people I've spoken with who can't move beyond infidelity. Lower post is a good example. It's not like she was a virgin when I met her. She had just lost a lot of weight and her 23-year-old best friend found her attractive. She's a very sexual person and his touch pleased her. She's obviously been unhappy at home for quite a while and one thing led to another. I flatly refuse to let the ship go down over one silly mistake. To be honest, the thought of her having sex with her previous husband turns my stomach more than the fact that she slept with this friend of hers. That guy is a real jackass. My biggest failing in the whole scheme of things seems to be that I wasn't able to pull myself out of my low in time to keep the marriage stable. And that weighs heavily on me but is very counterproductive thinking. I remember being insulted when she told me that she wanted me to get a job. I honestly thought that she figured it would help me get motivated. I felt like she was trying to force me to check my ego. I would be absolutely miserable doing a job that I felt was a waste of my abilities. My superiority complex keeps me in hot water again. Lovely. She told me last night that she had to turn off the cable and home phone because we couldn't make bills, but I had been talking to her about going on demand with our TV/movie viewing for several months before that based on the success that my brother had with it. I really didn't think we were hurting that badly financially. I mean, sure, I had been trying to cut corners spending at the grocery store, but we're in a recession, the hospital still hasn't put her to full-time, they told her it would only be part-time for a year, and it seems like the cost of everything just keeps on going up. We need counseling, for certain. Smile. I feel so bad that I screwed up to the point where things got this way, and sometimes it's even difficult for me to see any failing of hers in the situation, although I'm usually well aware that we both caused this problem. Sometimes it feels to me that she was the one person I needed to help me when I was down, but instead of running to me to help me, as I would expect a spouse to do, she ran away instead and I fell without her support. Wednesday. I can't wait for Wednesday to start trying to figure myself out. Start over fresh. Relationships are like food, once it goes bad, it'll never be good again. July. She took herself off of her bipolar medication because she didn't like the weight she was gaining. What? Nearly all of the bipolar medications on the market induce serotonin in the stomach because of ingesting them. This causes false hunger signals and leads to overeating. It's not an easy thing to combat, but weight gain is one of the primary side effects of that type of medication. There are a couple of weight-neutral medications for bipolar disorder, but you have to be one of the lucky ones that respond well to that particular medication. I wasn't arguing that point at all, but if I was manic/depressive, a few extra pounds would be the least of my worries. Solid reply though. Have an upvote. Lol, thanks. Self-esteem is such a difficult and delicate thing, especially for a woman who is approaching middle age. I don't want to can't imagine the pressure that our society puts on a woman to look and feel beautiful. She was as beautiful to me at her heaviest as she was the day I met her, but I'm certain the voice in her head, or perhaps voices, lol, kept telling her that she was fat. Hopefully her doctor can help her and find meds that work for her without the cravings. The stress from her job couldn't be helping her in that department, either. The women in her family tend to be stress eaters, with a single notable exception in her youngest sister. You can spend the next 10 years complimenting her, or spend 10 minutes roughing her up a bit in bed and get similar results. Spend the 10 minutes. Believe me, if that were an option, I'd give her a couple of hours. Lol, we haven't been intimate since the morning of the day she tried to commit suicide. This will come across as super ape Y, and I'll probably get downvoted into oblivion, but sometimes I don't give her a vote. Lamau, yeah, that's a little across the line. I think if I wanted to get to have sex with her one last time and put an end to it all at the same time, that would be an option. It's not an option. Lol. This guy's kid is destined to shoot up a school or movie theater. Lawyer up, sue for custody, and start looking for a woman who won't cheat on you or jerk you around. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.